Hey everyone, how are you guys doing? Well, basically Combat Sports is on vacation now till after the New Year's. So, what are we going to talk about in this holiday season? Well, a lot of people like to watch films while there's nothing going on, and that's something that we're going to talk about now. The best combat sports films, dare I say ever, but my personal favorite, my personal best combat sports movies. But before we get into that list, please guys, like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, get your friends to subscribe. It would mean the world to me if you did that. And down below, you tell me what movies in the combat sports genre you like. So there's a lot of things that have to go into a list like this. You know, just like you do any Mount Rushmore list, a lot of details are behind the scenes when you come up with a list. But for combat sports movies, things like casting goes into it. Believability. Are the characters believable? The storylines. Are the fight signs? Are the fight scenes realistic? But those are just some of the things that go into a list on combat sports movies. First, I want to do some honorable mentions that don't make my list, because when you come up with a best of list, a lot get left off. And when you talk about combat sports movies, there's been hundreds of thousands of them since the beginning of cinema. So a lot are going to be left off. So honorable mentions are movies like The Karate Kid, $1 Million Baby, which I really enjoyed. The original Mortal Kombat, not all the remakes. The remakes stink, but the original Mortal Kombat has some amazing fight scenes. I love the real life Mickey Ward, but I'm not a fan of the movie The Fighter, which is based on his life. Same thing with Jim Braddock's life movie, you know, Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe. Just doesn't make it. I am not a fan of Raging Bull, which a lot of people love that movie. I personally am not a fan of it. Southpaw, I'm not really a fan of. On a lighter scale, sort of like the boxing version of the movie The Sting with Paul Newman. Digstown with Louis Gossett Jr. and James Woods. That's a great movie to see, but it does not make my list. But anyways, now for actually my list. And while it's not a Mount Rushmore, I am telling you this up front, it is not a Mount Rushmore. It is just my 4 favorite combat sports movies. Okay? Starting off with number 4, the 1992 movie Gladiator. Not the Russell Crowe Gladiator, but the 1992 fictional movie Gladiator, where a young James Marshall, who plays a guy by the name of Tommy Riley, plays a high school student who moves to the rough side of Chicago and gets dragged and forced into fighting the illegal underground world of boxing in Chicago. He is befriended by a very, very young Cuba Gooding Jr. And Ossie Davis plays his trainer. That's a great casting job. He absolutely nails that. And I'm not surprising, Ossie Davis is an all-time great actor. And eventually, by the end of the film, Tommy Riley, James Marshall's character, has to fight the dirty, evil promoter played by Brian Dennehy. The fight scenes are really, they're shot well. It's a believable film, and like I said, it's fictional, but it is based on a very true thing. You know, underground illegal fighting happens all over the place. So that's number 4 for me. Number 3, okay, so here's the deal, guys. No matter what you think about Jean-Claude Van Damme, this is his genre, right? I'm going to put Bloodsport as my number 3 favorite combat sport film. And I know I'm picking that over so many other great movies, but it's the semi-biological, semi-fictional story of Frank Dew, who is a Canadian-American who fought and won the 1975 Kumite. Now, there's really never been, by Frank or anybody else particularly, was there a real Kong Lee who was played by Bolo Yeung? Is that based on a multitude of characters? It was never stated, and it's been argued that there was never really a Kong Lee, but Frank Dew was and is a real person. Did win the 75 Kumite. Now, that final fight scene, is it believable? You know, Kong Lee character Bolo Yeung throws salt in the eyes, and he's able to fight and win through that. Well, just look at blind people. When you lose one sense, the other senses rise. So in that effect, it is believable. But look, Bloodsport's, oh God, all of his other films they're kind of hokey-ish, you know, like Kickboxer. But there's just, I have to include a Jean-Claude film. And like I said, I just think that Bloodsport is his better project of all of them. Number 2, arguably the best Mickey Rourke role ever that he has played, is the 2008 movie The Wrestler. While it is fictional, right, the story is true. It's the life and the effect that it has on the body of being a wrestler. And the fact that they had so many wrestlers in the film cast, it's a brilliant move. It lends credence, it gives credibility to the film. Yeah, Marissa Tomei rocked it in My Cousin Vinny, but I think Marissa Tomei stepped up her game as co-star in this film. I give The Wrestler a slight edge over the recent film The Smashing Machine, which, by the way, I gotta say is Dwayne Johnson's best acting role ever, the Mark Kerr movie. Here's the problem with that movie. I don't think they marketed it well. I think it could have been so much bigger, so much better if they would have marketed it better. But I definitely think it's Dwayne's best role. And as a member of the Screen Actors Guild nominating committee, I have no problem nominating and voting for Dwayne Johnson for an Oscar, which I never thought I'd ever say. But anyways, getting back to the wrestler, that life breaks you down. Okay, and yes, while wrestling is sports entertainment, in this case, I'm clamping it in with combat sports. It just draws you in, you know. So that is number 2. So far, we have the 1982 version of Gladiator, Bloodsport from Jean-Claude Van Damme, The Wrestler. Now, before we get to number 1, I gotta say a real honorable mention is my favorite movie franchise ever, the Rockies / Creed. Now, you can say there's 100 hokey parts of all the Rockies. The fight scenes aren't well, honestly, they're not really believable at all. Like I said, lots of hokey parts to it. Now, is it fictional or is it autobiographical? Well, look, Stallone wrote the film based on an inspiration he got after the Chuck Wepner-Muhammad Ali fight in 1975. Now, Chuck did sue Stallone, and they settled out of court. I think for something like $13 million. But for me personally, whether it's Rocky 2, 3, 4, Balboa, Creed 2, Creed 3, there's parts of every one of those films that I tear up in. It's my like I said, it's my favorite film franchise. It's more now, and even at Rocky and Rocky 2, which are the better of all of them, it's more life and digging deep with boxing in it, as opposed to a combat sport movie with life in it, you know. So it's not completely true to life, obviously. And just the digging down deep in real life, it pulls me in personally. I don't. Down below, you tell me what you think your combat sports movie favorites are. Now, the number 1 combat sports movie, as far as I'm concerned, Enter the Dragon. Yes, it's completely fictional, but so many great iconic fight scenes, like obviously the mirror room fight scene with Bruce Lee and Shikeen, whose character is Han. The basis, the key of the movie, the tagline is a martial artist being hired by the intelligence agency to bust a drug lord's tournament. Is that believable? Not really. I wouldn't say that. It's such an iconic movie. It had to be added, and it goes to my number 1 spot. Like I said, yes, the Bruce Lee and Shikeen mirror room fight scene is iconic. Okay, one of the most iconic fight scenes in any movie, period. But an underrated fight scene is Bolo Young and John Saxon's character of Roper. That's a true David versus Goliath fight scene. That is a fight scene that is so underrated and shot well. And that's because Bruce Lee had his hands in every little piece of putting together his movies. And he knew what he was talking about. But that was just pure power and pure focus. Saxon's ability to go toe-to-toe with Bolo Yeung, incredible. Incredible movie. One that I highly recommend. I mean, I highly recommend all the movies, even the ones that got honorable mentions for me. You know, like a Digstown if you want to see something lighter, or Southpaw or Cinderella Man if you want a little bit more inspirational. But for me, the best combat sports films: Gladiator 1992, The Wrestler, Bloodsport, and Enter the Dragon. Down below, guys, please tell me what you think. Well, not what you think, but tell me down below what are your favorite combat sports movies. You can lean more towards a film that is combat sport hardened with life as a backdrop, or more like me, lean more fictional, where it's life film with the combat sports, sort of like like I said, the Rockies and the Creed films. Like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, get your friends to subscribe, please. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy ending of Hanukkah for all of you that celebrate. Happy New Year coming up. We got a lot coming up in 2026. Like I said, please like, share, and subscribe. Get your friends to subscribe. And until the next video, Cyclone saying, peace out. Home, ease.